Well, good morning, everyone. Happy week one. Once again, I am Dr. Wood, and I am so happy that you are here with me in EDU 542. So, this week, you're going to be doing a module on classroom diversity at the IRIS Center. And so, you're going to go through each section of the module. Please listen. Please don't skip ahead. Please really reflect on the work and what you feel that you are doing successfully in your classroom and what you feel that you have room to improve upon. In education, we really have to put ego aside and look at what we're doing, and that's how we growth mindset as leaders, as educators, and consider what's working well or what might we not know that we need to go seek out information to make for better lessons, better presentation for our students. And then you're going to be reading a guide for educators. Also, in the look ahead section, go ahead and begin working on reviewing is still working on literature exploration and individual analysis paper. That's number one, but it's not due till week two, but it's good to have like 2 weeks to work on a paper for sure. And then week four, your culturally responsive group presentation. And I am going to be putting up group members uh, um, probably at the beginning, maybe the end of week one, the beginning of week two. I just want to do attendance and make sure that, nobody is coming into the class late or dropping the class and taking it later, and then I have to restructure groups. So we're going to hold off on that before I give you groups. But go ahead and start thinking about that and looking at that. So when you look at the IRIS model, some of the things that you want to think about when you're an educator in classroom diversity is, what you really need to understand, okay? And, culturally, we want to have an understanding of cultural experiences of our students. We want to have background knowledge, things that might differ from our background or things that we might believe to be true and then we find out are not true in that background information. We want to consider our second language learners, how proficient they are in English, and how difficult that might be mastering academic content and how we can work with a student to help them master that academic content. We want to consider disabilities and make sure that we are using things in our instruction and making adjustments as needed to support our students. We also want to consider what additional educational resources and support students have outside of school. And that's something that we have to remember is that not everybody may have had the same educational experience as we have had. And how are we going to help that student when they're in that situation? And lastly, I want you to consider students' likes and dislikes based on, just who they are in the world. In many high schools and many schools, we have small learning communities where students are broken up into small learning communities based on what they're interested in. So we have a thread in arts, media, and entertainment, or we have a thread in technology or business or in environmental activism. There's all different things. And so by knowing your clientele, those things that interest them, you can also build into your curriculum, add, enhance that creates ways for students to feel more vested in what you're teaching. And remember, we want them to know the content. Of course, we want them to know the content. But more importantly, we want to build community and a sense of academic discovery that lasts a lifetime, a joy of learning. We want to keep them learning, okay? And so I just want you to consider those things as you move through this week's work. I taught in public high school, I taught American history literature uh, in 11th grade for many, many years. And so I love that in this module they're talking about these history lessons that this instructor is presenting, and you know when we're looking at something like American history literature or American history, which can be very politically charged and polarized, we have to pull back and we have to look at our clientele and we have to find ways to include their background, their cultural experiences into the lessons. And we have to make sure that we are teaching the full picture. And so, when I was teaching American history literature, I was in the arts, media, and entertainment SLC. So I made sure that I was being representative of genders, of backgrounds, and finding ways to draw students in to a conversation about what they knew, what I know, our common misconceptions, how we look at these misconceptions, feelings, thoughts about those types of things. If you're teaching something like science, it's making sure that you're representing scientists that same thing, different backgrounds, different genders, different ages. And before I left public high school to teach college full time, um, I'd co-written a course for our district called Diverse Voices Media Literacy, and it gave me the opportunity to talk to my students about biases that I had experienced from my generation and my age, and also things that might trigger me. Not to overuse the word, but they can be triggering in the classroom. And as you are sitting here listening to me right now, I'm sure you can think of a time, I'm sure you can, where you were either triggered by something in the classroom or in a professional development by a colleague or an admin or a department meeting, where you were like, hey, wait a minute, based on your culture or your background or your experience. And my 12th grade students were always shocked to find out. I taught high school at the high school that I went to school at. My 12th graders were always shocked to find out that when I went to school there, uh, if I wanted to play on the water polo team, which I did, I had to play on the boys' team. There was no girls' water polo team. There was no girls' soccer team. And they're always like stunned by that because, of course, they've grown up where these things have been present. So, talking to me about what it was like for me during that time period also opens up their view, their eyes to what's going on and helps them go, wow, I never thought about that before that way. And I talked to them a lot about bias related to ageism. Young people experience bias related to ageism. Older people experience bias related to ageism. And I'm 59 this year. I've let my hair go natural. I'm not doing anything like any cosmetic things. I don't have any issues with anybody that does. I think you should do whatever you need to do to make yourself feel well and healthy and happy. But for me, I made a decision that I wanted my students to see me embrace my age. And then I often share stories with them about how interesting it's been to look this way and become semi invisible in society, which is joyous in a lot of ways. But if you haven't seen on TV, there's a new show, Matlock, with Kathy Bates, where she actually talks about that and it cracks me up. But I talk to them about those things, and they find it fascinating. And so when we bring our own experiences in, when we talk to them about their experiences, the more we communicate together, it's our way of calling people in instead of calling people out. Nothing changes when you call people out. You just push people further away. So you have to find ways to call people into the conversation. And with growth mindset, we learn and our students learn and our students feel represented and we feel represented. And therefore, we can build this beautiful community. So, as you are going through this week, I want you to think about that. I want you to think about diversity. I want you to think about diversity related to yourself, related to your family, related to the way you grew up. things you learned about your own students that you didn't know, and how you shape your curriculum to make all students feel represented and all students welcome in your classroom. Okay? All right, I'm at 10 minutes. Have a wonderful week. I'll talk to you later. Bye bye.